Decision-making in business. Decisions are made in business by managers and stakeholders who assess available information, weigh up risks and opportunities, and choose the most appropriate course of action to achieve organizational objectives. Sources of data collection. Data must be collected in order to make decisions, as it provides evidence that reduces uncertainty and supports more accurate and informed judgments. Primary sources of data. The primary sources of data collection are surveys, interviews, focus groups, observations, and questionnaires. Surveys are structured methods of gathering information from a sample of respondents through a set of standardized questions, and a business would use them to collect quantitative data about customer opinions and preferences. Interviews are one-to-one discussions where detailed information is gathered directly from participants, and a business would use them to gain in-depth insights into attitudes, experiences, and motivations. Focus groups are guided discussions with a small group of selected participants about a specific product or idea, and a business would use them to explore reactions and generate qualitative feedback. Observations are methods where behaviors and actions are watched and recorded in real time, and a business would use them to understand how customers interact with products or services in a natural setting. Questionnaires are written sets of questions completed by respondents either online or on paper, and a business would use them to gather specific information efficiently from a large number of people. Secondary sources of data. The secondary sources of data collection are government publications, industry reports, market research reports, and media sources. Government publications are official statistics and reports produced by public bodies such as the Office for National Statistics, and a business would use them to understand economic trends and market conditions. Industry reports are analyses produced by trade associations or research organizations about specific sectors, and a business would use them to assess competition and identify opportunities for growth. Market research reports are compiled studies produced by specialist agencies that summarize consumer behavior and market trends, and a business would use them to support strategic planning and product development. Media sources are information provided through newspapers, websites, and broadcast channels, and a business would use them to stay informed about current events and public opinion. Storing information. When storing information, the business must make sure that it maintains security, complies with legislative and regulatory requirements, and upholds ethical standards. A business must make sure the information is secure, as unauthorized access or data breaches could result in financial loss, legal penalties, and damage to reputation. They must make sure it abides by legislative regulations, such as the Data Protection Act 2018. This is because failure to comply can lead to fines and legal action. The regulatory issues that a business must deal with when storing information are compliance with industry standards, data protection authorities, and auditing requirements. The ethical issues that a business must deal with when storing information are respecting customer privacy, ensuring transparency about how data is used, and avoiding misuse of personal information. Using data. Analyzing data to predict consequences, provide reasonable alternatives, and justify solutions is useful, as it enables a business to identify patterns and trends that support informed and strategic decision-making. Comparing data to predict consequences, provide reasonable alternatives, and justify solutions is useful, as it allows a business to assess differences and similarities in performance or outcomes before selecting the most appropriate option. Evaluating data to predict consequences, provide reasonable alternatives, and justify solutions is useful, as it supports reasoned judgments that are based on evidence and aligned with organizational objectives. The use of business models to aid decision-making. Business models can be used to help make business decisions by providing structured frameworks where managers can analyze markets, competition, and growth opportunities in a systematic way. The different business models are Porter's 5 Forces model, 5CS analysis, the Ansoff matrix, and the Boston matrix. Porter's 5 Forces. Porter's 5 forces are competitive rivalry, threat of new entrants, threat of substitutes, bargaining power of buyers, and bargaining power of suppliers. Competitive rivalry refers to the level of competition between existing firms in a market, and businesses analyze it to assess how strongly they must compete on price, quality, or innovation. The threat of new entrants refers to how easy it is for new competitors to enter a market, and businesses examine it to understand potential risks to their market share. The threat of substitutes refers to the availability of alternative products that customers could switch to, and businesses consider it to reduce the risk of losing customers to alternative solutions. The bargaining power of buyers refers to the influence customers have over prices and terms, and businesses assess it to determine how much control they have over pricing strategies. The bargaining power of suppliers refers to the influence suppliers have over the cost and availability of inputs, and businesses analyze it to manage costs and maintain profitability. 5CS analysis. A 5CS analysis is a marketing framework where a business evaluates company, customers, competitors, collaborators, and context to inform strategic decisions. Company refers to the internal capabilities, resources, and objectives of the business, and it is analyzed to identify strengths and weaknesses. Customers refers to the target market and their needs, behaviors, and preferences, and it is examined to ensure products meet demand effectively. Competitors refers to other businesses offering similar products or services, and it is analyzed to understand market position and competitive advantage. Collaborators refers to partners, suppliers, and distributors that support the business, and it is considered to strengthen relationships and improve efficiency. Context refers to external factors such as economic, social, and technological influences, and it is assessed to anticipate opportunities and threats in the wider environment. Ansoff Matrix. The Ansoff Matrix is a strategic planning tool where businesses identify growth strategies based on products and markets. Market penetration involves selling more existing products to existing markets, and businesses use it to increase market share through promotion or pricing strategies. Product development involves creating new products for existing markets, and businesses use it to meet changing customer needs and remain competitive. Market development involves entering new markets with existing products, and businesses use it to expand their customer base geographically or demographically. Diversification involves introducing new products into new markets, and businesses use it to spread risk and create new revenue streams. Boston Matrix. The Boston Matrix is a portfolio management tool where products are classified according to market growth and market share. Stars are products with high market share in a high-growth market, and businesses invest in them to maintain their strong position. Cash cows are products with high market share in a low-growth market, and businesses use them to generate steady revenue. Question marks are products with low market share in a high-growth market, and businesses analyze them carefully to decide whether to invest or withdraw. Dogs are products with low market share in a low-growth market, and businesses may consider discontinuing them to reduce losses. Techniques to analyze data effectively for business purposes. The techniques to analyze data are measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion, graphical analysis, and statistical calculations that identify patterns and relationships. Representative values. There are 3 representative values for data analysis: the mean, the mode, and the median. The mean is calculated by adding all data values together and dividing by the number of values, and a business would use it to identify the overall average performance or trend. The mode is the value that appears most frequently in a dataset, and a business would use it to identify the most popular product, price point, or consumer preference. The median is the middle value in an ordered dataset where half the results lie above and half lie below, and a business would use it to reduce the impact of extreme values on decision-making. These results can be used to draw valid conclusions by identifying patterns, comparing performance, and supporting evidence-based decision-making. Dispersion. Dispersion is the measure of how spread out data values are around a central value. The measures of dispersion are standard deviation for both small and large samples, often used in statistical process control and to determine appropriate buffer stock levels. Standard deviation measures how far data values typically vary from the mean, and a business would use it to monitor consistency in production processes or assess risk and variability in performance. Calculations. The calculations that can be used to analyze data are quartiles, percentiles, and the correlation coefficient. Quartiles divide ordered data into for equal parts to show the spread and position of values, and a business would use them to identify the range where most results fall and detect outliers. Percentiles show the percentage of data values that fall below a specific point, and a business would use them to benchmark performance or compare results against competitors. The correlation coefficient measures the strength and direction of the relationship between two variables on a scale from -1 to +1, and a business would use it to assess how strongly factors such as price and demand are related. Appropriate formats for decision making. The formats that can be used for decision-making are written reports, presentations, charts, graphs, and statistical summaries that clearly communicate findings. The different graphs that can be used to present data are line graphs, pie charts, bar charts, and histograms. A line graph shows how data changes over time by connecting data points with a continuous line, and a business would use it to identify trends and patterns in performance. A pie chart shows proportions of a whole using segments of a circle, and a business would use it to illustrate market share or the percentage breakdown of costs or sales. A bar chart uses separate bars to compare different categories of data, and a business would use it to compare performance between products, departments, or time periods. A histogram is a type of bar chart where data is grouped into continuous intervals to show frequency distribution, and a business would use it to analyze patterns such as customer age ranges or production output levels. A scatter graph is a graph that plots two variables against each other to show whether a relationship exists between them. A business would use this for decision-making as it helps identify correlations and assess how changes in one variable may affect another. A linear trend line is a straight line of best fit drawn through data points on a graph to show the general direction of a relationship over time. A business would use this for decision-making as it helps forecast future performance and support planning based on past trends. The information from these can be extrapolated and used by extending trends beyond the available data to predict future outcomes and support strategic planning. Information can be presented in a presentation or a report. A presentation would be used by a business to communicate key findings clearly and concisely to stakeholders in meetings where visual impact and verbal explanation are important. A report would be used by a business to provide detailed analysis, evidence, and recommendations in a formal document that can be reviewed and referenced later. Software-generated information for decision-making. Software-generated information is data that has been processed and analyzed using digital tools and applications to produce meaningful insights. This can be used for business decision-making as it provides accurate, real-time information that supports informed and timely choices. Software-generated information can be used for managing information as it organizes, stores, retrieves, and updates large volumes of data efficiently and securely. This is useful for operational, tactical, and strategic levels of the business, such as monitoring daily sales at operational level, setting departmental targets at tactical level, and planning long-term growth at strategic level. Software-generated information can be used for project management as it tracks progress, allocates resources, sets deadlines, and monitors performance against objectives. This is useful for networking and critical path analysis as it identifies task dependencies, highlights the sequence of activities that determine project duration, and helps prevent delays. Gantt charts can also be used for project management, which are visual timelines that show tasks, durations, and progress across a project schedule. Software-generated information can be used to manage finances as it records transactions, forecasts cash flow, and analyses financial performance quickly and accurately. This is useful for presenting net present value, discounted cash flow, and internal rates of return. Net present value is the calculation of the current value of future cash flows minus the initial investment, and a business would use software to present it accurately when assessing whether a project is financially worthwhile. Discounted cash flow is a method that estimates the present value of expected future cash flows using a discount rate, and a business would use software to present it efficiently when evaluating long-term investments. Internal rates of return is the discount rate where the net present value of a project equals zero, and a business would use software to present it precisely when comparing the profitability of different investment options. Thank you for watching this video on decision-making in business. I'll see you in the next one.